Hello Freedom Seekers, Jeremy Chambers, Independence Acres Homestead. Out here on a beautiful Sunday morning here in southeastern Michigan, we're going to talk about some excitement going on here on the homestead, but also sheep. Hi sheepies. With all the stuff we've got going on here on the property, I really didn't need another project. But one presented itself on Friday evening, and here's how it all began. Josh and I were out in the garden working, getting stuff planted and watered today on this beautiful Friday afternoon. And we walked out, we looked over towards the house, and we saw all of these bugs flying around in the sky. And it looks like we've got a bee swarm. Adam. We shared that video on our YouTube Shorts, so you may have already seen it. So a lot has happened since that on Friday afternoon, Friday evening, when we were out working in the garden. And I really didn't want to leave those bees out that night because they were just on the ground. They were just, yeah, it was getting cold that night. We had a frost warning, and we really didn't want to have these guys dying in a pile here. So I reached out to some friends, and one of our fellow YouTube friends from Rebel Canning, she reached out and she said, hey, here's what you need to do. Get a bucket, drill a hole in it, put some ventilation in it, put some sugar water out, put it out, and see what happens. So that's what we did. And it worked. The bees stayed, they moved into there. I had to put a couple scoops into the bucket. We think we located the queen, so we're pretty sure this colony has a queen. So we're excited that now we have bees on the property. And it's been about 36, almost 40 hours since they first landed here on the ground. Hey, quiet piggies. They're a little loud and obnoxious sometimes. We still love them though. So after that much time in the bucket, we decided it was time to give the bees a proper home. So we headed into our local town, to our family farm and home, which is our local Michigan farm store. And it was time, and we picked up a brood box. It is this brand here, Harvest Lane Honey. I'm pretty sure that they also sell this brand at Tractor Supply, but they had these in stock because I needed to get something soon because I didn't want these guys to leave again. Didn't want them to swarm out of the bucket, so we needed to give them a proper home. So the plan is I've got a piece of OSB that's cut just to the same size as the bucket. We're going to take the lid off, put that OSB on, set the brood box with the frames on top of that bucket, and hopefully those bees will transition up into the brood hive. Okay, so here's the plan, and this could go horribly wrong. I gotta get this lid off, set this piece of plywood on here over top of it, and then get the brood box on without getting completely destroyed. Doing a little at a time. Shoot!
What?
That's not good.
What happened?
Oh, they're just pouring out now. May have just done it in.
You think they're gonna leave now?
Possible. Yep, I may have just done it in.
Oh, they're everywhere.
What's that?
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Drops of yellow are falling on me.
They don't like the new hole.
I didn't even have a chance to get them there. I just cracked the lid to try to move them, and
Oh man.
that's it.
Are they all leaving?
Yeah, that's the whole hive.
They all just poured out.
They just poured out of the hole. Well, that was pretty much a failure and a disaster. Lesson learned, during the heat of the day, leave bees alone. As you saw, I tried to take the lid off of the bucket, set my contraption over top of it to get them to come up into the brood box, and all I was successful and able to get them to do was to swarm again, and they completely left the bucket. The bees left the chat, and gosh, I was very disappointed. I was ready to name this video 5 ways to lose $100 and scare off a bee swarm. But I may have found redemption here about 3 hours later. After they swarmed out of the bucket, I mean, it was just, I was devastated. It was very, very frustrating. I said, all right, let's go to the store. I need some fried chicken strips to make myself feel better about this situation. And got some chicken, came back, and behold, blessing upon blessing, the bees actually settled over here in the grass about 20 feet south from where they swarmed. My guess is that the queen just couldn't last that long since it was warm. She came over, landed here, and the swarm ended up right over here along our fence line. Let me show you what I did. So like I said, the bees ended up on the grass over here. And at first I brought the bucket back over here thinking, well, maybe they'll climb back in the bucket because it's familiar territory. But then I'm like, well, maybe they have some trauma related with the bucket, so that might not work. So I took the cardboard box that the brooder box came in, and I cut out one of the large sides, pretty much the entire side there, and then just cut out about a 6-inch square on the top leading up into the brooder box. And then very carefully, very gingerly, just set the cardboard box down on top of them, and then set the brooder box on top of that as quick as possible without disturbing them too much. And within about 2 minutes, some started coming out, but just as many were coming out, we're going back in about 2 minutes after that. And so maybe we were going to be successful in keeping these guys around. My biggest concern is that this cardboard box, as it absorbs moisture, it's going to get weak and soft, and it's going to want to collapse. So I'm guessing we've only got about 2, 3, maybe 4 days before they've got to get moved from this position. Luckily, we've got some time to let them rest, and we'll see what happens. We've got a little plate over here with some sugar water, and we'll keep giving them a little bit of sugar water, and then in a day or two, we'll buy some pollen discs from a local farm store, put in here, and maybe we can get them to stay. Well, friends, that wraps up our adventures for today as far as the bees go. We're going to be heading out to a local nursery and picking up as many flowers as we can that are good for bees. Because we're going to kind of line this area with some flowers. We really want to encourage them to stay. We really want to keep these bees here as pollinators in our garden. And then maybe next spring we'll have some honey. Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure today. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any updates on our homestead that are coming up. Whether you're interested in following along with the bees, want to know how the sheep, the pigs, the rabbits, the chickens, and the garden is going, make sure you go out today and do something to cultivate freedom in your life. And until next time, God bless.